welcome to today's lesson. Let's get started. What we want to learn today is a superstructure of the major scale, or its basic chord structure on the guitar fretboard. Once you can visualize this chord structure, you're well on your way to playing anywhere, any place on the fretboard, in any key. So to start with, let's examine a basic musical major scale key, and that is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And if that sounds like, oh my gosh, here we go, boring stuff from grade school, well, actually, this is where you should start. And the music that you hear on your day-to-day radio station is based most probably on this basic do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do scale. So, to get great, you got to be good first, right? So, let's start by just taking a quick major scale analysis. And we're going to use white keys on the piano. So that's going to be our first white key. We're going to make a black key here. We have a white key and a black key. Then like a piano, we're going to have a white key and a white key, and a black key, and a black key, and a black key. And this conjunction here of white keys is leading you back into this very first scale, this first note here. So, on a piano, those are arranged as C, D, E, F, G, A, B, back to C again. So you have your do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Let's hear it. Now, the way that playing those notes always leads you into hearing, it doesn't sound complete unless you say do at the end, like it's ending, but you're actually beginning again. So what you're finding out here is it's this special arrangement that only works in one direction with a skip in an odd place that doesn't make it numeric, makes this a special pattern that's like a key. Only fits a door, only fits the doorway to music in do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So just kind of mull that around, that thought. Doesn't have to be too important to you right now. But let's know that there's a half step here, E, F, and B, C. Now to translate this into any key, you can turn these into numbers. You can say that this is simply, these are all do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And these are all numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you can just refer to them as, well, this is our 1 note, and this is our 2 note, and this is our 3 note. So that this could theoretically be any key, okay? So you're not locked into using the key of C. We're just doing that because the piano makes it easy to visualize the key of C, and that's what we're trying to do here, is visualize music. Because when music is visualized, music is internalized. Okay? Maybe that'll be the title of this video. Got it? Get it? Good. So these two half steps here are what it's all about on the guitar fretboard. And here is your basic superstructure that won't look like it's involving these half steps at all, and we'll discuss how you get around that. Now, we're going to start here. I'm going to draw squares here. And if you're familiar with this graph paper method, as you should be, each box here represents a note on the fretboard of your guitar. So for example, if I play a G on the 6th string, if I want to say, hey, okay, this is my 6th string right here, and the note I want to put there is G, and I want to play this pattern, I'm going to play. See if I can hammer on all that. Okay. This is your basic structure on the guitar fretboard. Let's map it out at starting with a G note right here. We'll use our 6th string today. Gab. G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. You'll see that if you line that one up on G, you get all the whole notes. Which scale has all the whole notes? The key of C. So we've just determined right here that this box will always be our root note box. So give that some significance in your mind by making this chart and coloring this in your favorite go-to note color. I'm using green for go. C. Senor. So you have G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. And what you can see right now is this. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 squares, 9 notes covered with this shape. Of the 12 notes possible that are listed right here, sharps and flats just listed as these keys. You can figure those out. What we're seeing here is that we have all whole notes in the key of C. So this is the key of C. This is your basic structure. And before I drift off this point I'm trying to make here, so we have 9 squares of a scale which only has 7 notes. So 2 are copies here, and here they are. The octave pattern on the guitar shows up in the graph, G and G, A to A. Let's hear it. I'm playing a note here, skipping a string, skipping a fret up here. Kind of like your typical power chord. Okay, so this is the basic pattern. Now, where did this half step jazz? What happens here, and why is it important? Here we go. This pattern takes care of the half steps by including it in the jump from string to string. So from B to C, and from E to F, B to C and E to F, or B to C, E to F. What you have here then is simplicity, a nice simple shape. But now you're stuck. You know that a guitar solo wants to play all over the fretboard. So how do you link this shape up to itself all over the fretboard? Here we go. It fits together like a puzzle piece that you can see once you graph the fretboard out like this. As you can see, there's a lot of melodic possibility in that box. And of course there would be, you're using all the possible notes in any key. Here I'm going to shift it. I'll shift my root note up 3 frets to D, and I don't have to do anything different or know anything different to incorporate all the notes of the D major scale by going here. So there was some sloppy playing there. Hopefully you can deal with that in this lesson here. And I just had shifted that C up to D. So without getting too overdrawn out here, you playing my guitar, let me move on with this lesson. Once you know this shape, you can apply this. This basically is it. And so this should link up all over the fretboard. And the way it connects to itself is the key. And this half step area, B, C, E, F, is going to become your new friend. Anytime there's a B, C, anytime there's a B, there's a C and an E and an F. So look at here, B and E. So what is next to that? C and F. Very good, right? Make that a little more clear. And C. Your 1, 7, 1, 3, and 4. If you want your interval numbers in there, but you can do that at a later date. First, just know your musical scale. So what's above C, G? So all of a sudden you have a 3-note rail right there. If you have your G, C, F, guess what you have right here? The same notes are right here, and the same note is right here. So you've just gotten the ability to move slightly across the fretboard here, and I'll show you some tricks to this in a second. Let's fill out our code. C, D, E, F, G, and A. Once again, our root note moving over here. And here you'll see how you tune your guitar with the 5 at the fret number 5. Open 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now you know why you tune your guitar at the 5th fret. Boom, right? Boom, chickarillo. So we have moving cameras here as an extra special effect for your video today. This square becomes your best friend. In a 2-note or a 4 and in a 2-string riff that you probably already recognize, you can have 2 notes before, skip these 2 and play these 2, and it's like playing the bottom of a pentatonic scale. That includes these notes. You've played that one in certain songs before. And perhaps using these notes and these notes, creating 4 notes from here. Let's hear that. I'm going to basically play a riff that goes this, 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 and then I'll just noodle around and end up here. And then I'll play a riff from here, starting here, and play this one, blah, blah, blah. Now, you can really get cool with that once you start adding root notes to the picture, and I'm just going to give you a taste of that right now so this becomes musically interesting to you, and then you'll get the urge to carry on with this, thought-heavy theory. So here we go. There, I used my low E as a drone, positioned my squares so that the E became as if the E was the 5th of the scale that I was playing, all those notes, the group notes. E would have been the 5, and if E was the 5 is Mixolydian, which you'll know at a later date, because it'll become interesting to you, because you can do things like that make your noodlings sound charged with knowledge. Okay, so back to the main structure here. You now see that there's a Lego block here made by this EFBC. Jump on the fretboard. There's a linking block right there, and here's another little navigation tool, at the top of this box will always be a 5 and a 6. You have your 7, 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The only missing number is the 2. The 2 is always the odd man out. The 2 is this D note, which is conveniently right in the center of your master scale here. So let's put a yellow code on that D. This is your outcast note. When you're on a D, you know, you're farthest away from, musically you're not the farthest away from your root. But on the guitar, navigation wise, you're basically, you're not very far. You're basically in your shape here. So here's what I do when I'm jamming. If I'm in this shape jamming here, right through here, then maybe I'm up in here, I know that at any given time I can move up into this gateway and play my same melody, fool around with the melody, do something new with the melody. I can go down here and do the same thing because it's all the same notes. It's just a new playground with some new timbre, some different strings to do things. Now here's why the guitar makes this just a little bit more difficult and why this isn't as widely known. Because after you do this, here we have just for an example here, 1, 2, 3, we have 4 strings represented here. So if this one now was the low E, above here the pattern has a problem. The pattern has to shift one note over, has to shift that way one note. So, for example, we'll use a different place here. If you had your box was forming on the, let's say the D string, and then the G string, and the B string, and the C and the E string. If you were putting your rails up there, they would look like this, because that B string, as you already know from being a guitarist, there's that B string problem that always shifts up, and it's going to become, visualized pretty easily in your graphs. So there you have it. So now comes the trick of being able to move south or north of here. Well, the cool thing is these patterns are always found in these rails are what typically makes up your pentatonic scale. So when you're in this shape, depending on where you are on the guitar, you'll have a pentatonic shape up and down around here, or your LinkedIn box here. Now let's actually just move this way. And how should this work? Well, let's look at how it worked here. You only have to know this box, because whatever rules apply to this box keep applying all over the fretboard. So theoretically, if this one was here, and by the way, we never created our box here, here's how we get out the other direction. We create a square here, C and F, so we have B, C, E, F square right here. That's our Lincoln box. Our super awesome, totally hip way to get the hell in and out and across the fretboard is this box. And here's where this rule works. This box is actually a rail of 3 notes. And these 3 notes would be here, here, theoretically here and here, and here and here. But I drew those lightly, and here's why. If we consider this the 6th string right here, so this being the 3rd fret of the guitar at the 6th string, so we'd have black E, F, and E. Here's the nut. In theory. we wouldn't have these notes. That was for illustration, so you could see that that's where you were. And we already know here, so we know that the same thing would happen here. B, E, C, F, B, C, E, F square up here, if this was a string. Okay. So stands to reason down here we'd have this, but since, my friends, you haven't at all your goodest fears, I sentence you to be exposed. Okay, no, never mind. Do you have ADD like that? Where you say something and a song comes into your head? If you're a musician, you might be afflicted with this problem. So what I was getting at is the need to switch, but we don't have to do that yet. We're still in our first 4 strings. You can't get this far down. The nut is here, but in theory, you'd have basically the same thing again. Your D is in the middle, your C is over here, your G is here, your A is here, and your G is also here, and your A is here. And that means all you have to know is your F note, which is right there. Boom. And you've got the next part of the fretboard happening here, blah, 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 blah. How about we want to go straight down? So if we know, let's start erasing this since we know that already. Well, just so happens I recognize this shape as the very top of my Aeolian pentatonic shape that my guitar teacher taught me a long time ago. And that leads me to the final point we'll make here in this video. So when we're going down, let me create what I know is the pentatonic scale. Let's see, it had a note here, and does that follow the rule of our square? Here's a magic thing about this B, C, E, F squared. In this direction, it's the tritone, and it always follows that there will be a box right here, but we have to break it for the string shift. So we're going to break it there. It's our B, C, E, F box. Sure enough, starting to look like the bottom of the Aeolian scale. So we know that there's a note here, because after C is always a D. After F is always a G. If perhaps you're lined up on the C major scale like this chart is, for reference purposes only, not for restricting your music. G. And if we have E, F, we have B, C right here. And what's before B? Same as E string. So, here you can see the top of the Aeolian box line up. Perfect. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. And now if you're wondering, well, what about this area here? We have a whole blank mindfulness of this area. Nope. All my mind needs to know is that the trick of the squares, and that means if there's a square of notes here, that here's my other square here, meaning that I have a B, C, E, F box with a D here and a G there. Hey, you know what? What lives in a little box? A dog. Put a dog in the box. Add a dog to the box. Hey, maybe it works for you. Going down here, I'd have another box right here, but oops, there's that string shift problem that happens, so I take that whole entire box, move it down here, because that's the good thing about the second row here. There's only 2 rows of this box, then everything repeats. You've covered 12 frets, you know your whole fretboard. Oh wow, look at that. How did you just know it that fast? B, C, E, F is here, so you add a dog, and you've got the bottom of your scale. If you recognize this pattern here, it's the top of the Dorian pattern, so that brings this note here. And then if you're here, you know that there's another box right here, and you're back here where we started at the C here. And if we're back there, that means we have covered the entire fretboard. It's underneath your hands. Boom. You're a wild guitarist, freed to unleash. E, G, A, B, C. Any mode, anytime, anywhere. So, that was me noodling around somewhere. What did I do? I used the box here and mounted the, well, never mind. You don't have to know what I did there. It'll just confuse you more than anything. But I used what I knew of this pattern, mounting it in a certain pattern that would create that E note. Well, here, let me show you this. This might make more sense. I can take this now, this E note, since I'm not suggesting anything else with this low E note. There's no other chord note sounding. I might even add in the fifth for spice. We add in the fifth here. Now that I've treated your ear to a Mixolydian sound, I'm going to try to morph it into Lydian. Now I'm going to go minor with it. And in the end, I even morphed it in for Phrygian part. see, that gives the background tone this new edge. Gives it this whole new seriousness. But now, if I switch it back over into Happy Lydian, then all of a sudden the rainbows start shining, the sun parts from behind the clouds. Okay, so you see how playing modally is actually playing moodily? I changed no chord in the background. I created that sound in your brain, and your brain likes that. That's the stimulation part of music, and I just showed you how to elicit that in your listeners. So hopefully I just added a massive new punch to your playing and provided you what you wanted out of this course. Remember your string shift, and if you have any questions about this course, you can leave them in the comments below if this somehow ends up on YouTube. And as far as I know, this will be also on a Udemy course. If you can, please support this effort. I appreciate any help you can provide for these efforts. If you feel like this was a valuable guitar lesson, pay your guitar teacher using the submit. There's some kind of payment button below, and hopefully I'll link up Patreon pretty soon. And I thank you guys for all your positive words and thanks and questions that you might have, and let me get something explained to you. I think we're going to leave this video with that today. Have a great day. Thank you for watching, and please, please, please subscribe. Have a great day.